Hey everybody, and welcome back. Today we are talking about deck building, but very specific decks for the Gator Gym challenge. So we're going to go over the deck, the type of cards, a little bit about what the cards can do, just to help you figure out exactly what cards you should put in your deck so that you have a competitive deck for the challenge, and so that make sure that you're going to have lots of fun playing and make the games more interesting. So let's get started. For the Gator Gym challenge, we are using a standard size deck, which is 60 cards. So you're allowed to have a maximum of 60. Technically, it's a 60 exactly, but I know there are some trainers that do not have quite that many cards available for their deck. So if you're a little short, we'll have some extra cards we can add to your deck to bring it up to that 60 number, but no more than 60. That is the absolute limit. Now, your deck should consist of Pokemon, energy, and some trainer cards. We usually recommend about even split between the three. So about 20 Pokemon, about 20 energy cards, and about 20 trainer cards. And we'll go over what those different cards look like right now, and you get a better idea of what it is that you should have. Also, the cards will be limited in terms of power, so we will not be using any VMAX, V-Star, or GX cards. The maximum cards we're going to be allowing will be V cards. So here's an example here, this Corviknight. And if you look, you can see he says Corviknight V. Okay, so you know he's a V card. He's also a basic, and that's important because you can't start your game without a basic Pokemon. So your deck must include at least one basic Pokemon in order to be able to actually play. Of course, we recommend a lot more than one, but one would be the minimum. So when you want to play your game, you'll need the Pokemon, and they can be, like I said, V is the max, but you can also use just regular Pokemon, kind of like these guys here. We've got our Klefki, Meowth, and our Berserker. Berserker is actually a evolution of Meowth, so we will allow evolution cards. In this case, you have the basic Meowth, the stage 1 Berserker, which is what Meowth evolves into, and then if you had a character that had a stage 2, you'd also be allowed to have him. Remember again, maximum of 4, so you could have 4 Meowths, 4 Berserkers, and then if you had a stage 2 version, it would be 4 of them. Any type of combination of cards, doesn't really matter. Again, maxing out at the most powerful ones being a V. The cards themselves, it's kind of important to look at the type of energy they use. So this particular guy, Klefki, you can see he has a little star here. So he can use any type of energy. It's known as colorless energy. And that means that you can put any type of energy on there. If you had metal energy, or if you had fighting energy, you could put either one on there, and Klefki could get powered up and be able to attack. Now on Meowth, on the other hand, he needs a very specific energy. So to do a scratch attack, he actually needs the metal energy. And if you put on one of the fighting energy, he wouldn't be able to attack. He would require the metal energy. So it's really important to keep in mind when you're building your deck, make sure your cards, all the characters are using similar energy types. You typically don't want to load your deck up with a bunch of different energy requirements, because that means you have to load up a bunch of different energies, and then you're less likely to draw them each turn. So it might take a long time to power up your Pokemon, and you'd end up losing the game. So we would try to typically use all the Pokemon with the same type of energy, maybe a couple with a different type of energy, and throw a few extra energies in, but that's not very common. I like to build my decks with all the colorless energy characters like Klefki, because it doesn't matter what energy I'm using. So that allows me to use a steel type like Klefki, but I could even use some of the fighting types. I can use Psychic. There's many characters that are capable of using the colorless energy, and then it doesn't really matter what energy you have in your deck. But that is something to bear in mind when you're building your deck. Now, talking about energy cards look like this. These are basic energy. So basic energy cards have a full color picture like this. Okay. Basic energies are the most common ones. That's what we use most of the time. And you can have any amount of basic energy. They're not limited to the 4 card max. So you might have 10, 15, 20 basic energies in your deck, and that's fine. You can also use something called a special energy. Special energies are usually directed towards a specific character or character type. So they sometimes will only work with a character that is a certain type of energy or a certain class of character. So this one, metal type. You might have special energy that only works with metal types. Or they might work with a certain series, like they only work with a fusion strike or another character like that, or a V or a non-V, who knows. There's many types out there. So do be careful if you're putting in special energy, because they may not work with all your cards, and it might take you a long time to power up your Pokemon. You could try them, but for this tournament, I would recommend sticking with just the basic energies. Now, the third type of card that we use is known as a trainer card. And these cards allow you to do things during your turn. So there are 4 types of trainer cards. So they are the Tool Trainer, Stadium, Supporter, and Item. Now, on the Tool Trainer, this attaches to a Pokemon. And once it's attached, it can't be removed unless you have some type of special instructions that say you can remove it. And typically, a tool card does something to modify the defense or the attack of your Pokemon. In the case of this choice belt, it provides a little bit of extra damage to your attacks. So they're a good card to have, but be careful what you're using, because again, they don't work with all the cards, and once they're attached, they can't be removed. This is a Stadium card. Now, Stadium card gets played on the playmat, and it affects both the attacking and defending Pokemon. So this will provide you with maybe extra strength, or in the case of this one, the Calamitous Snowy Mountain, it says that you have to put damage counters on your Pokemon when you attach energy, if you're attaching certain energies to certain characters. And this would apply to both characters, yours and your opponent's. Now, this is great if all your characters meet the criteria. They won't get damage counters, but your opponent, every time he adds an energy, it'll damage his Pokemon. So these are a good card to have to do extra damage to your opponent without actually attacking. Again, a limit of 4 cards per deck. So we haven't played a lot with the Stadium cards yet. I'll expect that most of the trainers probably won't have Stadium cards in their decks for the challenge. Now, the last 2 I want to talk about are the Item and the Supporter card. Item cards are great. These cards allow you to do all kinds of fun things. Heal your Pokemon, search for Pokemon, search for energy cards, all kinds of stuff. They even allow you to swap out your Pokemon from the active to the bench, and they're great. The benefit of an item card, you can play as many item cards per turn as you have in your hand. So if you have 4 item cards in your hand, you could in theory play all 4 of them, and that's great. There's no limit on that, so they're really fun. They work well. They are limited, of course, to what they can do. So, and then that brings us to the last one, the Supporter card. Now, Supporter cards usually do something a little bit more powerful, allow you to search for more cards, swap out your entire hand. They do all kinds of things. And the Supporter cards, you can only play 1 Supporter card per turn. So, we still like to put a bunch of these in our decks. I don't use as many, but they are a great card to have. This one here is allowing you to shuffle your hand in your deck and then take 5 cards. There's a Professor's Research that says discard your entire hand and take 7. So if you have a really bad hand and you need new cards, Professor's Research is great. Another really powerful one is Boss's Orders, and that forces your opponent to swap out their Pokemon. So if your opponent has a very powerful Pokemon in the active spot, and you don't think you can defeat them right now, if you use a boss's orders, you can force that Pokemon back to the bench and then pick a Pokemon of your choice from their bench to come back to the active spot. So it gives you a chance to maybe knock out a weaker Pokemon or knock out a Pokemon that you know might be a problem in a few turns. So supporters are fantastic cards to have in your deck, and I pack a few in there. Like I said, I don't do a lot. I prefer item cards, but supporter cards are definitely a great way to go. So there you go. And that is a quick tutorial on the decks that we'll be building for our gym challenge. So hopefully we will see you out at the Gator Gym challenge, and maybe you'll be able to win yourself the Gator Gym badge. Good luck building your decks, and we will see you at the gym. Thanks for watching.